Okay, let's dive into this. You sent us some really fascinating source material on the history of Dhaka. Quite a journey it lays out.
It really is. We're talking about, the deep past of a major global city. The notes you shared cover so much ground.
Absolutely. So for this deep dive, our mission is basically to unpack the key stuff from your sources to really get a handle on Dhaka's incredible transformation over, well, centuries.
Sounds good. And what really stands out from the material is Dhaka's big moment of elevation. The sources pinpoint the 17th century, specifically 1608.
Ah, right, when the Mughals made it the capital of the Bengal. That feels like a major turning point.
Exactly. It wasn't just symbolic. Making it the capital shifted its whole trajectory, strategically chosen.
And they renamed it too, didn't they? Jahangirnagar, after the emperor. Feels like that's when it really steps onto a bigger stage.
Precisely. The Mughals invested heavily. It became this key administrative and trade center,
Yeah.
and, globally famous.
For the muslin, right? Your sources really highlight that, this incredibly fine fabric.
Yeah, not just fabric. It was a huge luxury export, highly sought after everywhere. That really put Dhaka on the map economically in that era.
And you can still sort of feel that past, can't you? The
Hmm.
material mentions things like Laoba Fort.
Even unfinished, it shows that imperial scale. And structures like the Star Mosque, Husseini Dalan, they reflect the cultural vibrancy under the Mughals.
Little windows into that grandeur, okay. But of course, empires decline.
Right. And as Mughal power waned, the British East India Company and later the Crown became dominant from the 18th century, another massive shift for Dhaka.
And this is where, according to the sources, Dhaka actually lost some status. Initially, anyway. It wasn't the top dog administratively under the British at first.
Correct. Calcutta took precedence for a lot of that period. And that famous muslin trade, it declined significantly under new colonial economic priorities.
So a bit of a downturn, commercially speaking.
In some ways, yes. But the sources also show it remained an important regional hub, culturally, educationally. And then later, especially in the late 19th century, the British did invest in modernizing it.
Okay, this is where we get railways, new roads, civic buildings popping up, that
Mm.
sort of thing.
Exactly. Infrastructure that reshaped the city. Plus, crucially, institutions like Dhaka College and eventually Dhaka University, foundational, really.
So even under colonial rule, without being the main capital, it was still evolving, building capacity in different ways. Education, administration, laying groundwork.
That's a good way to put it. It shows a kind of urban resilience, adapting even as its primary role changed, building blocks for the future.
And what a future that turned out to be. Next up, partition in 1947. Huge upheaval.
Massive. Suddenly, Dhaka is thrust back into a central role capital of the newly formed East Pakistan.
And that triggered enormous changes, right? Population boom, migration,
Hmm.
reshaping the city completely.
Profoundly, socially, physically, setting the stage for, more intense developments.
Which led eventually to the Bangladesh Liberation War in 1971.
And independence. Dhaka becomes the capital of a brand new sovereign nation.
That's the moment the modern Bagacity we think of today really starts to form, dealing with all the pressures and possibilities of being a national capital.
Yes, and your sources capture that dynamism, that complexity, one of the world's fastest growing cities, full of energy, but also, facing real challenges.
It's fascinating how the sources describe the past, living alongside the present. Mughal layouts, colonial buildings, all mixed in with modern development.
It's not just history and books, it's right there on the streets. Amidst the traffic and the new buildings, you can literally see these layers. The past is very much part of its current reality.
Okay, so recapping quickly.
Mm.
We've seen Dhaka rise as a Mughal powerhouse known for luxury goods, then shift under colonial rule, modernizing but losing some status, then its critical role post-partition, and finally, emerging as the capital of independent Bangladesh.
And the main thread pulled from your materials is how today's incredibly fast-growing city is still deeply marked by and even contains those visible traces of its incredibly diverse past. Mughal, colonial, independence era. It's all there.
It really makes you think. Considering that whole journey, thriving Mughal capital, adapting through colonialism, forged in independence, how do all those interwoven layers of identity actually shape Dhaka now, as it tackles the complexities and, frankly, the contradictions of being one of the planet's fastest-growing megacities today?